You wake up, your joints creak like haunted furniture, your mouth feels like it's been used to store sand, and the first thing you reach for isn't water or sunlight, it's your phone so you can doom scroll before breakfast. Congratulations. You've just aged your body 3 years before 8 a.m. Here's the truth. The first hour of your day isn't just morning, it's a vote. For either life or slow, bureaucratic decline. And most people, they're unknowingly voting for decay while they butter their toast and ignore their kidneys. But there's a strange little loophole in this whole aging process. People who live past 90, especially the ones who still walk, laugh garden and remember their damn passwords. They don't just live longer, they live deliberately, and it starts with their mornings. In this video, I'll walk you through 7 strange, simple, and slightly rebellious morning habits that quietly predict whether you'll still be laughing or dancing badly. Well into your 90s, habit number 4 takes only 30 seconds, but could be the reason your brain still works when everyone else is confused by their microwaves. We'll meet Walter, who outlived his grumpy cardiologist, Patricia, who lowered her blood pressure with gratitude, and probably you, if you're brave enough to stop aging on autopilot. So if you're tired of waking up just to feel older, keep watching, because this morning, you could start getting younger. Habit 1. Stop checking your phone. You're not that important. Let's start with a little truth bomb. You are not a trauma surgeon, an astronaut, or the Dalai Lama. So why, for the love of your arteries and your nervous system, is the first thing you do in the morning check your phone like you're running NORAD? If your idea of a morning ritual is reading the news, doom scrolling through social media, and looking at texts from people who don't even like themselves, then congratulations, you've just shoved your brain into fight or flight mode before you've even peed. Seriously, your body was peacefully detoxing, regenerating, and resting through the night. Then you open your phone, see a headline about economic collapse, a meme about divorce, and a blurry selfie from someone's breakfast. And just like that, your cortisol spikes, your heart clenches, and your spirit politely starts checking out. Elder psychology calls this the early overstimulation loop. Seniors who wake up and immediately engage with digital stressors report more fatigue, memory lapses, and mood swings by mid-morning. It's not aging, it's poor boundary management with glowing rectangles. Let's look at Barry, 77. Woke up every day to news alerts, emails from political conspiracy groups, and 3 different weather apps telling him he was going to die from either heat stroke or hail. His blood pressure was a mess. His mornings felt like a war zone. Then he made one change. He stopped touching his phone for the first 90 minutes of the day. That's it. He swapped the screen for sunlight breathwork movement. His blood pressure dropped. His memory improved. His wife said he even became slightly less of a jerk before breakfast. Progress Buddhism frames this beautifully. The mind is most malleable in the morning. It's like wet clay. Whatever you press into it becomes the shape of your day. You want to mold it with fear, comparison, and overstimulation. Fine, just don't act surprised when your peace starts leaking out by 10 a.m. So, here's your practice. Do not touch your phone for the first hour after waking. Not even to just check the time. Buy a clock like it's 1973. Instead, do anything from the previous habits. Drink water, sit in sunlight, breathe, stretch, thank your kidneys. Speak to your dog. Stare at a tree. Be a human again. If you absolutely must check something, try checking in with your breath or your posture, or whether your sense of humor survived the night. Because when you give your attention away too early, you lose the one thing you really own, your presence. And here's the best part. You'll quickly discover how unimportant all that urgent noise really was. Nobody's life fell apart because you didn't reply to a meme. No national crisis was solved because you read it at 6:04 a.m. with dry eyes and a stiff neck. So tomorrow morning, make your first hour sacred again, because your nervous system is already doing its best. Don't insult it with TikTok. You don't need to renounce the world. Just give your brain a chance to wake up before you hand it over to chaos. Habit 2. Do one thing slowly on purpose. Let's be honest, most of us are still sprinting even while falling apart. You brush your teeth like you're in a NASCAR pit stop. You butter toast like the house is on fire. You zip through your morning like there's a prize for collapsing at noon. But here's the ancient inconvenient truth. Speed is not freedom. It's just socially acceptable panic. And if you want to live to 90 with your brain intact and your soul still curious, you need to slow the hell down. On purpose. No, I'm not saying you need to move like a tree. I'm saying you need to pick one thing each morning and do it with the patience of someone who's been through some shit and lived to laugh about it. Take Harold, 84, used to multitask his mornings like a caffeinated octopus. Then his granddaughter gave him a mindfulness book for Christmas. He scoffed, threw it under the couch. 6 months later, during a health scare, he picked it up and read a single line. You cannot live longer by moving faster. You can only live deeper by moving slower. So, Harold made a deal with himself every morning. He'd shave slowly, like monk grooming for a funeral slow. No distractions, just hot water foam and silence. He said it changed everything, because it wasn't about shaving. It was about not rushing past his own existence. Here's the Buddhist part. In Zen monasteries, monks are taught to do one task at a time with full presence. Not because it's efficient, but because it's sacred. Washing a bowl is a spiritual act. Sweeping a floor is meditation. Folding a robe is devotion. It's all about being where your hands are. And for elders, this habit is gold. Elder psychology shows that conscious slowing down reduces anxiety, sharpens cognition, and lowers blood pressure. Your body feels safer when your actions match your age, not because you're old, but because you're finally wise enough to not race toward your own ending. So here's your invitation. Choose one thing each morning to do slowly. Stir your tea like you're coaxing it to reveal secrets. Button your shirt like you're dressing a king. Brush your hair like it still matters. Water. A plant like, it might whisper something back. Make slowness an act of rebellion, because the world wants you frantic. It profits off your speed. It sells you pills, news apps and caffeine to keep you from feeling the life that's still right in front of you. But you've earned your slow. You've outlived urgency. You're not here to rush through mornings like a panicked intern. You're here to move with grace, with a reverent presence, and maybe a little sarcasm. So tomorrow, slow something down. Anything. Do it like it matters, because it does. And if someone asks why you're buttering your toast like a monk doing calligraphy, just smile and say, I'm not getting slower, I'm just getting real habit 3. Move before breakfast or become furniture. Let's get something clear if your first movement of the day is to shuffle to the coffee pot like a confused zombie in orthopedic slippers. You're not aging, you're solidifying. Here's the truth. Most people don't want to hear after 60, stillness is only holy if you earned it. Otherwise, it's just stiffness with spiritual branding. Your joints don't creak in the morning because you're old. They creak because they've been ignored. Imagine not speaking to someone for 8 hours, then expecting them to be cheerful. That's your knees, that's your spine. They're giving you attitude because you ghosted them all night. In Buddhist monasteries, before a monk chants or eats or even looks at another human being, he moves, not CrossFit, not jazzercise, just simple, respectful gestures, walking, sweeping, stretching, bowing. It's not about fitness, it's about waking up the body before you feed it or burden it with thought. And here's the kicker: movement before breakfast actually activates a biological miracle called autophagy. Your body's natural process of cleaning out dead cells and toxins. You know, the internal spring cleaning that makes your joints stop sounding like a gravel driveway. Let me tell you about Harriet, 68. Stubborn hated exercise, scheduled for knee replacement surgery. Her physical therapist, a woman with the patience of a saint and the sarcasm of a bartender, told her, Just 7 minutes of movement in the morning. Before you eat, before you complain. Harriet started slow. Wrist rolls, ankle circles, a little sway to her old Beatles records. 3 months later, her surgeon looked at her x-rays and said, "Cancel the operation. Whatever witchcraft this is, keep doing it." She laughed. "It's just toe touches and attitude." Elderly psychology confirms what Harriet learned. Those who engage in gentle movement before breakfast show lower inflammation, better mobility, and reduced depression. It's not about exercise, it's about ritualized self-respect. So, here's your sacred prescription. Tomorrow morning, after you drink your water and salute the sun, move gently, weirdly, slowly, joyfully. Roll your joints like you're auditioning for a low-budget Tai Chi video. Stretch like a lazy lion. Touch your toes or just wave at them if they're too far away. And do it before food, before coffee, before your inner voice starts telling you it's too late for change. Why? Because stillness, first thing in the morning, tricks your body into thinking it's dying. Movement tells it. Not yet, old friend. Not today. You're not an antique chair. You're a breathing, regenerating, occasionally flatulent miracle. But only if you treat yourself like one. And look, if you really want to spend your later years glued to a recliner, fine. But don't be surprised when your knees file for divorce and your spine starts muttering threats in the night. So go ahead, wiggle something. Swing your arms like you're casting off regrets. Sway like nobody's watching, because let's face it, they're not. And if they are, they're too stiff to care. You want to dance at 90? Then start moving like life still wants you here. Habit 4. The 30-second breathing ritual that tricks death. If you're still alive, congratulations, you're breathing. Sort of. But let's be honest, most people over 60 breathe like they're auditioning for a slow-motion panic attack. Shallow, tight through the mouth, like life is just one long sigh of disappointment. Here's a wild idea. What if the way you breathe each morning is quietly determining whether you die peacefully at 97 or angrily at 73 while yelling at a toaster? See, most people wake up and breathe like they're already under attack. From the bills, the body aches the morning news. Your breath tells your nervous system, we're not safe. Prepare to die. Your heart rate rises. Your immune system sulks. Your cortisol levels skyrocket like a badly made souffle. But the elders who make it to 90 and still know where they put their teeth, they breathe differently, deliberately, like monks or smug old cats who've seen it all. Take Sardinia. Up in those Italian mountains, the men don't rush their mornings. They wake up, step outside, and do a slow, rhythmic breath ritual, like they're sipping the air for its secrets. It's not dramatic. It's not Insta-worthy. It's just wise. And then there's Douglas, 96 years old, who told a researcher, "If I don't breathe right in the morning, I get stupid by lunch." Science agrees. Researchers found that a brief daily breath practice reduces inflammation balances cortisol and increases something magical called heart rate variability, a fancy way of saying your body still knows how to adapt to life. Here's what to do. It's called the 4-7-8 breath. It takes 30 seconds. You inhale through your nose for 4 seconds, hold for 7, then exhale slowly through your mouth for 8 seconds, like you're blowing out the candles on your last birthday cake with style. Repeat 3 or 4 rounds. That's it. Do it while sitting in sunlight. Do it before checking your phone. Do it even if you feel ridiculous, because this one breath sequence activates your vagus nerve, the magical switch that tells your body, we're safe, we're alive, it's okay to heal now. Buddhism has known this for centuries. The breath is the tether between body and mind. It's the one thing you've done every day since birth, and yet how often have you done it on purpose? The Buddha didn't say try harder. He said breathe. Know that you were breathing. And most of us, well, we're too busy wheezing through regret to remember. Here's the dark comedy. You've got a lifetime of breath left, but only one at a time. And each morning you have a chance to reset your entire nervous system with 30 seconds of silence and lung power. Or you could just keep breathing like a hunted animal and see how that goes. So tomorrow morning, breathe like someone who plans to stick around. Inhale your survival, hold your peace. Exhale your grudges. And if someone catches you doing it and asks what you're doing, just smile and say, I'm cheating death. One breath at a time. Then keep going. Habit 5. The breakfast that doesn't betray you. Let's be real, most people don't eat breakfast. They commit nutritional sabotage before 9 a.m. and call it a morning routine. A piece of toast, a splash of orange juice, coffee that's 80% sugar and 20% anxiety. Then they wonder why their knees hurt, their brains foggy, and their moods riding shotgun with despair. This isn't breakfast, it's slow-motion self-harm with sprinkles. Now look, I'm not saying you need to eat like a keto yogi who harvests his own chia seeds, but if you want to reach 90 with your blood vessels intact and your brain not plotting an exit, you're going to have to stop treating breakfast like an afterthought. Let's talk about Gerald, 68, fittish diagnosed pre-diabetic. Inflammatory markers lighting up like a Christmas tree. He wasn't overweight, didn't smoke, but his doctor still looked at his chart like it was a countdown to doom. Instead of pills, Gerald changed his breakfast. That's it. No magic berries, no goat yoga, just protein, fiber, and a breakup with refined carbs. 6 months later, his blood sugar normalized. Inflammation dropped. His doctor stared at the chart like it had been photoshopped. Is it possible? He asked. Gerald just smiled and spooned Greek yogurt into his mouth, like it was a love letter to his pancreas. Here's why it works. A protein and fiber-rich breakfast regulates your blood sugar, keeps your gut happy, and reduces microinflammation. The quiet assassin of the aging body. It sets the metabolic tone for your entire day. Miss the opportunity and your body spends the next 12 hours chasing its tail in a hormonal dumpster fire. What does that mean? Practically 25 grams of protein eggs, Greek yogurt, tofu clean protein shake, 8+ grams of fiber, chia seeds, oats berries, vegetables if you're fancy, healthy fat, avocado, nuts, olive oil. No sugary cereals, white bread or breakfast bars made by demons in lab coats. Now for the Buddhist part, in mindful eating, the first bite of the day is sacred. You're not just feeding a body, you're feeding awareness. In monasteries, monks don't eat breakfast while scrolling. They eat in silence, bowing to their rice, like it's the Buddha himself. Elder psychology agrees. Seniors who start their day with nutritionally intentional meals report better mood regulation, higher energy, and even lower rates of cognitive decline. Why? Because the body isn't being punked by a glucose roller coaster at sunrise. So here's your invitation. Tomorrow morning, betray your self-sabotaging breakfast. Ditch the quick and easy junk that's aging you faster than time. Instead, feed yourself like you plan to live long enough to meet your great-grandkids and remember their names. Yes, it takes an extra 5 minutes. Yes, you'll miss your buttered toast at first, but trust me, your joints, brain, liver, and karma will throw you a parade by Thursday. Eat like a monk, think like a scientist, live like someone who doesn't want their breakfast to be their eulogy. And if anyone asks why you're suddenly eating protein and fiber in the morning, just tell them, I'm planning to outlive the people who told me cereal was healthy, then take another bite. Slowly, with gratitude. Habit 6, morning connection or emotional atrophy. Here's the thing, nobody tells you. You can take all the supplements, do all the yoga, eat all the blueberries, but if you're waking up alone and staying silent, you're aging like a houseplant that someone forgot to water. And I don't mean alone as in single. I mean socially, spiritually, soulfully dehydrated. Loneliness, especially in the morning, doesn't just hurt your feelings, it shrinks your lifespan. Literally, it's been compared to smoking 15 cigarettes a day, except with fewer friends and no cool 1950s soundtrack. The science is brutal. An 80-year Harvard study found that people who had even a small moment of meaningful connection before 10 a.m. had 29% lower all-cause mortality. Translation: small talk can save your life. Let's go to Okinawa, where some of the world's longest living people wake up and immediately check on their neighbors. Not because they're nosy, but because it's how you stay human when your body's starting to creak. A 97-year-old woman told researchers, "If I don't speak to someone before lunch, my soul goes quiet." Dark, right? But relatable. Now meet Carl, 81, widower, lived alone. Woke up in silence for years, and slowly life started to feel like a waiting room. Until one day his granddaughter gave him a challenge. Text one person every morning. Just one. Doesn't even have to be a real sentence. He started with emojis, moved up to dad jokes, then full sentences. 6 months later, his depression lifted, his energy returned, and true story. He started flirting with the cashier at the bakery again. Elder psychology teaches us that morning, connection reactivates neural circuits of safety, purpose, and memory. It grounds you. It wakes up the mind more gently than caffeine ever could. Now, don't panic. I'm not saying you need to call 10 people at dawn. Just one of the following: call a friend for 3 minutes. Say a kind word to your partner before grumbling about your back. Text a neighbor, a blessing, even a weird one. Say hello to the barista, like they're the Dalai Lama in an apron. And if you're really truly alone, speak out loud to yourself. Say, "Hey there, we made it. Let's not waste this." Or speak to your cat, your plant, the morning sun, the old photo of someone who still means something. In Buddhism, right speech isn't about talking all day. It's about choosing words that connect rather than divide. A few kind words can shake off the fog of isolation like incense in a cold room. So tomorrow, don't let your day begin in silence unless it's intentional. Even a single hello can light a fire in the cold chambers of elderhood. You're not meant to age in isolation. You're meant to age into communion. Because the truth is, we don't just die from illness or accidents. Sometimes we just quietly unravel from being unseen. So who will you speak to tomorrow morning? Who will remind you you still matter? Habit 7. Gratitude that touches your cells. Not just your journal. Let's get one thing straight. Gratitude isn't some fluffy Instagram spirituality nonsense. It's biochemical rebellion against decay. It's how you slap back at cynicism and tell your cells, "Nope, not dying like that." Because the truth is, most people after 60 start every day with a silent roll call of complaints. My knees hurt, my back hates me, my memory is playing hide and seek with names again. And hey, fair, the body does start to feel like a used appliance. But here's the secret the long-living, lucid, and surprisingly joyful 90-year-olds all share. They thank their bodies anyway, not just in theory. Out loud, in the morning, with weirdly specific detail. Meet Patricia, 74, hypertension, heart palpitations. Meds weren't helping. A cardiologist suggested stress management. So she tried something radical every morning. She put her hand over her chest and said, "Thank you, heart, for still beating, even when I've ignored you." 3 months later, her blood pressure dropped. Her heart rate variability improved, like she'd taken a vacation inside a meditation app. Her doctor asked what new meds she was on. She said, "Gratitude." Cue the awkward silence. But here's the science. A Yale study showed that directed gratitude practice, especially when aimed at the body, physically changes brain structure. It calms the amygdala, reduces cortisol by 23%, and activates the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for wisdom, compassion, and not throwing your phone when it freezes. In Buddhism, we're taught to thank the body, not in spite of its flaws, but because of its faithful service in the face of impermanence. Your liver has filtered regret for decades. Your feet have carried you through funerals and first dates. Your lungs still pulling in breath despite years of stress and secondhand smoke. So here's your 2-minute ritual that could literally extend your life. After you breathe, remember habit 4, place your hand over your heart. Say 3 very specific gratitudes directed at your body, like, thank you eyes for letting me see my grandkids, even if they only text now. Thank you legs for still getting me to the mailbox without a dramatic fall. Thank you gut for tolerating decades of questionable diner food. Be specific, be sincere, be slightly ridiculous if you want. The key isn't perfection. The key is connection between you and this aging miraculous meat suit that's done everything it could to keep you upright. Because when you stop thanking your body, it starts to feel unappreciated, and like a neglected friend, it starts packing its bags. Elder psychology shows that seniors who practice morning gratitude have better emotional regulation, stronger immunity, and a lower risk of chronic inflammation. Why? Because gratitude tells your body it's safe, it's seen, and it still has a role in this strange, beautiful mess of a world. So tomorrow morning before the coffee, before the news, before you remember what hurts, thank what's still working, because the body listens, and believe it or not, it still wants to stay. Habit 8, drink water, like it's a spiritual act. Because it is. Let's be honest, by the time you wake up, your body isn't just thirsty, it's borderline apocalyptic. Your cells are clinging to the last drops of hydration like villagers in a drought-stricken monastery. Your blood is thicker than your nephew's excuses, and your poor kidneys are praying for a miracle. And yet most people stumble out of bed and say, let's make coffee. That's not a beverage choice. That's biochemical sabotage. See, during sleep, your body performs about 1,000 silent miracles. It repairs cells, resets hormones, even files away that weird dream where you argued with your high school math teacher at a bowling alley. But the whole process runs on water, and you wake up on empty. Walter, remember him from the intro. At 65, he was watching his friends drop like flies. Stroke here, kidney failure there. All I changed was water. He told me at 93, sipping from a mason jar like it contained the Holy Grail. And maybe it does. He started placing a glass of water by his bed every night. The moment he opened his eyes, before standing, before peeing, before thinking about taxes, he drank the whole thing room temperature. No lemon, no Himalayan salt, harvested by free-range monks, just water. Within months, his blood pressure evened out. His kidneys thanked him by not failing, and he said he started dreaming in color again. Or maybe I just stopped dying. He laughed. There's actual science here, not just grandpa folklore. Morning dehydration causes what nephrologists now call blood sludging. It thickens your plasma, stresses your heart, and inflames your brain faster than Facebook arguments. In Buddhism, the body is referred to as a precious vessel. You wouldn't let a sacred urn sit cracked and dry on your altar, would you? But we treat our bodies like discount Tupperware, cracked, dry, microwaved, and forgotten. Drinking water, first thing, isn't just smart, it's respectful. It says, thank you kidneys, thank you liver, thank you, inner plumbing, for not giving up on me last night. Elderly psychology backs this up too. Seniors who develop consistent morning rituals, especially hydration, report higher levels of mental clarity, mobility, and a sense of control. That's not just good for your organs, that's good for your dignity. So here's your practice. Tonight, place a glass of water on your nightstand. Not too cold, you're not trying to shock your spleen. Then tomorrow morning, before your feet even graze the ground, drink it all. No excuses, no negotiations, just drink. And while you're at it, say, thank you, out loud. You're not crazy, you're aging like a monk. This is the easiest thing you can do for your health. And if you're not doing it, your internal organs are probably plotting against you. Ask yourself, do you want to wake up dehydrated and confused for the next 20 years? Or do you want to wake up like someone who plans to haunt their great-grandchildren by outliving everyone else? The choice, as always, starts with a single glass. Habit 9. Chase the sun. Like it owes you money. Let me put this bluntly. If you wake up and spend the first hour of your day hiding from the sun like a vampire on house arrest, you're basically sending your brain a message. Don't bother, we're just waiting to die. Here's a secret your doctor may not tell you, but monks and long-living villagers in places like Okinawa have always known. Sunlight is not optional. It's not a nice to have. It's not something to squeeze in between checking emails and microwaving sadness. It's medicine, not the over-the-counter kind, the cosmic kind. Most people over 60 experience some form of sleep disturbance. You chalk it up to aging, but what if it's just bad lighting hygiene? Your body runs on a 24-hour internal clock called the circadian rhythm. It's like a spiritual metronome, gently guiding your hormones, digestion, memory, and moods. But if you stay indoors, wrapped in artificial light and regret your internal rhythm, stops playing jazz, and starts sounding like a funeral dirge. Here's what the research says, and yes, the science backs the woo here. Just 10 minutes of natural sunlight within 30 minutes of waking can reduce your risk of neurodegenerative disease by up to 37%. It boosts melatonin production at night, balances cortisol during the day, and tells your brain, hey, we're still in the game. And now, let me tell you about Benjamin. 75 years old, insomniac, always tired, looked like he was about to pick a fight with his own recliner. His doctor told him to go outside for 10 minutes each morning. He scoffed. That's it. No pills, no special light bulb, just the sun. 2 weeks later, Benjamin was sleeping like a monk after a long chant. His blood pressure dropped. His memory sharpened. He said he even felt flirtier, though his wife was less enthused about that part. He wasn't meditating. He wasn't power walking. He was just sitting on his porch in a tattered bathrobe, letting photons bathe his ancient skin. Now here's the Buddhist twist. Sunlight isn't just vitamin D. It's a wake-up call to your soul. In the Zen tradition, morning light is symbolic of awakening, not just physically, but spiritually. To see the sunrise is to remember, you've been given another day. Don't screw it up. And yet, millions of people draw the blinds, check their phone, and wonder why they feel like they're sleepwalking through their own lives. So here's your no BS action step tomorrow morning. Within 30 minutes of waking, get outside. Even if it's cloudy, even if it's cold, even if your bathrobe is barely legal in public. Sit by a window if you can't move well, but do it. Let the light hit your face like a blessing or a slap. Either works, because if you want to live to 90 and still know what day it is, you'd better stop treating sunlight like an enemy and start treating it like your first cup of spiritual coffee. You've survived another night. Let the light know you're still playing. So here we are, 9 simple, strange, quietly revolutionary habits. None of them require a gym membership, a Himalayan guru, or a detox smoothie made from tree bark. Just water. Light breath, movement, food, connection, gratitude, boundaries, and slowness. If you're still telling yourself it's too late, let me remind you, Walter started at 65, Patricia at 74, Harold at 84. The body is a stubborn old beast, but it listens when you show up with love and just a little discipline. In Buddhism, we don't see aging as decay. We see it as ripening. The fruit softens, the skin wrinkles, but inside, the sweetness concentrates. The wisdom settles in. You stop pretending. You start becoming real. So no, these habits won't make you young again, but they might make you fully alive again. And isn't that better? Start with one, then another. You don't need a perfect routine. You need presence. You need the courage to treat your mornings like sacred ground, not just survival mode. Because the way you start your day isn't just about longevity, it's about dignity, joy, freedom, and a quiet refusal to die before you're dead. So, what will you do tomorrow morning? Whatever it is, make it count.